initially inspired you to study law? Like, did you just wake up one day and be like, that's what I want to do? Or how did your love for law actually come up?
I think those are the three things put together, kind of debating this idea of how I thought about the law and how it has this duality of how it can empower you, but it can also be very oppressive. And the third, particularly the human rights, was working with the former Minister of Justice, Honorable Wondalsap, at law reform. Those three things kind of shaped, I think, my career. With Oxford, they are like, oh, there are so many scholarships, you don't have to apply for them. If you are eligible, they'll give you. So I was waiting around. Eventually, I had to hand in my financial declaration. I didn't have funding. I tweeted. I was like, I got into Oxford. I started a GoFundMe. And then a couple of people called me, now including one economy foundation, and said, we have other students who got into Ivy League schools in the last 2 years, but they've not been able to go because of funding. We can't let this keep happening. And we kind of worked together to try and secure me funding. And I would have never had that opportunity if I had not just tweeted and if I had not been vulnerable.
Is it the same Twitter, like the black app I have?
The same one, the x.com.
Ish.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not using it correctly.
So my point with this is to say the funding models was firstly not accidental, but it changed time to time. In the beginning, it was really just looking for someone that will believe in me, right? And after that, it was selling myself, right? So the proposal continuously developed. So right now I'm trying to fund my final year. I've raised a little bit of money. I'm still looking for more. But the proposal I'm currently using is something that I've developed over 6 months. It's something that first in December, I only had kind of, this is what I've achieved. This is why you should contribute. I didn't have the returns. This is what you're getting back. And then when I came back, I'm like, wait, who is my audience? Who am I trying to get money from? And I said, law firms. I said, what do law firms value? They don't have time. They need researchers. They need consultants. They are understaffed. So maybe I can offer my expertise of consultation or research or my network to them, right? So it's really about from year to year, my funding proposals have changed and it has adjusted to either how much money I need, to who I am approaching. So all of these things are considered as a whole.
You know what was fascinating when I looked at the proposal? Is the fact that 120 hours of consultation gives you how much of money that you can get. I'm like, who do you think you are? I love your confidence. I looked at it and I was like, wow, I never thought about using that as a model, because a lot of us have expertise, but we always just like, please fund me. I need to do my master's. I need to do my PhD. And never a situation of, what can I do? What can I offer you in return? Now, once you've developed, you say that it evolved continuously. Now, let's say on your first 6 months after you've developed it, how did you approach the law firms? What were their responses like? Welcome back to yet another episode of Career Quest Podcast, your ultimate guide to discovering a world of exciting career possibilities. Here, we provide you with the insights to guide your career path and explore various professions, or while sharing stories from professionals who've been where you are, unsure and seeking inspiration. Our vision is to empower young Namibians with the knowledge and inspiration to make informed career choices through real-life experiences. My name is Selma Ndasilohenda Iyambo, your host for Career Quest Podcast, and I'm excited to be here with you once again. You can follow Career Quest Podcast on our various social media platforms as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Be Free Namibia. Or you can listen on our website at oneeconomyfoundation.com or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find your podcast from. Today's episode is quite fascinating because we are diving into law, global policy, and international human rights. So if you are maybe thinking or you've ever dreamt of studying law, or pursuing a PhD at the University of Oxford, you definitely need to remain tuned on to this podcast. Joining us today is the incredible and inspiring Kelvin Vries, a Namibian legal scholar and now a PhD candidate at the University of Oxford. Kelvin has worn many hats and received various academic awards and acquired multiple certifications. Kelvin has served in various university societies and has made several publications and opinion pieces, which we will unpack in today's conversation. Kelvin, Welcome to the Quest podcast. It's such an honor to have you with us this morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Selma. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm quite excited to hear about your journey because from the University of Namibia, University of Pretoria, University of Oxford, wow.
Yeah, I'm surprised myself. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to sharing the little bit of experience that I've gained.
Little bit, Kelvin.
A little bit.
Guys, when I made it to Oxford, I'm not sure I'm going to be as humble and be like little because, oh, guys, I have made it. Now, Kevin, you have such an impressive and a diverse journey already. And you are, how old are you? You're not 30 yet.
I actually turned 30 Monday. That was 5 days ago.
When I turn 30, I want to be like you, right? Now, let's start from the beginning.
Of course.
What initially inspired you to study law? Did you just wake up one day and be like, that's what I want to do? Or how did your love for law actually come up?
I think the earliest memory I have of wanting to study law started with my debating career. I had older brothers that kind of did debating, so I always saw them traveling. They would go to competitions in South Africa, in Botswana. I said, I want to do that. And then once I got into it and I realized I'm not too bad at this. And I thought, hey, I'm quite persuasive, you know? And then I thought, what career kind of works with debating? And that's what initially kind of got me into it. More than that, I think studying about apartheid and knowing kind of that the law can be used as a tool of oppression, but also as a tool of justice is kind of what inspired me to pursue it. And particularly, lastly, human rights. I would say that started with my first internship after law school at the Ministry of Justice, at the Law Reform Commission. And that really sparked my interest, particularly in human rights. I think those are the three things put together, kind of debating this idea of how I thought about the law and how it has this duality of how it can empower you, but it can also be very oppressive. And the third, particularly the human rights, was working with the former Minister of Justice, Honorable Vondalsap, at law reform. Those three things kind of shaped, I think, my career choice.
Around what grade were you at the time when you joined the debate society?
So I started the debating society when I was grade 7, right, at Emma, yes. And then from grade 8 all the way through to grade 12.
Wow.
At grade 12, I was the president of the debating society. So it was something that was always very close to my heart.
It's quite impressive. And all of you that you started in grade 7, because I think I started with my debating career in grade 9.
Grade 9.
Funny enough, that was at Auckland High.
Right next to, yes.
Maybe we just connected from the get-go and just never knew each other because, wow. Now, speaking about human rights that you just found when you were at the Ministry of Justice, let's speak about how it switched from just human rights to international human rights. How did that turn out for you?
I think what happened, that came with my LLM. So I did my LLM at the Center for Human Rights at the University of Pretoria. And they have this fully funded program called Human Rights and Democratization in Africa. And it is one of 7 campuses around the world. So what they do is you have a new lecturer every second or third day, right? They'll fly in people from Europe, from America, from South America. So that really broadened my scope of, just human rights to international human rights. Because essentially international human rights is what informs human rights on the domestic level to a large extent. So I think I started to have a love for international human rights. And constitutional law. My thesis at Oxford is more about constitutional law. But those two things really started with my master's, I would say.
Your master's, you say LLM.
LLM.
What does that stand for? Because we have some of our listeners.
There's an LLB, there's an LLM, LLM is basically just a master's in law.
A master's in law?
Yeah, that's essentially what it stands for.
You have a master's, you have an honors, now a PhD along the way.
In my defense, the honors and the undergrad is one degree from UNAM. So it's just 4 years.
All I'm saying is when I get to 30, my academic accolades better come close to me. Because, wow, I feel inspired.
But be careful, there's a disclaimer, you will not have made any money until 30. So you must be willing to be in school for 10 years without paying a tax dollar. So I think I would encourage everyone to think about exactly their academic paths.
This economy, my aspirations for academics, guys, maybe as this episode unfolds, maybe I'll have a better idea as to what I want to do with myself. Because I need some money, but I also need some qualifications, because we see that in order for you to get far, you kind of need to have some sort of academic accolades. Now, let's speak about many people being intimidated about studying law. You know, when you say, I'm studying law, they look at you like, how are you doing that? Now, could you walk us through your experience studying at the University of Namibia? You know, it's one thing for you to be part of the debate club and be like, oh, I feel like maybe I'm persuasive enough and I'm going to do law. Tell us about those two realities. Was it what you thought, no? What I ordered, this is what I got, or how was it?
UNAM was a mixed bag, if I have to be completely honest. Initially, you know, they kind of promote South African schools, so I didn't want to go to UNAM. I didn't even apply to UNAM. And I tried to get into South Africa. I couldn't get in, and then you know, you have to go stand in those rows at the registrar's office and beg for a place. So that was kind of my story. But UNAM was very inspiring, I would say, particularly because of certain professors. I have an interesting story. I was telling you I'm now an expert or becoming an expert in constitutional law. But the only module I failed in UNAM was constitutional law.
How?
I think I had confused the dates for my interview or whatsoever. But the point is, I quite find it interesting that the only module I failed is the thing that I'm pursuing now at Oxford. So it tells you don't give up, you know, at the first place. But also the other side of UNAM that I only really realized afterwards is I think there's as great as the faculty is, there is a bit of a lack of support. So even at UNAM, I graduated above average, so about between 65 and 70%. You know, I was always an above average student. I was committed. You know, I loved what I did, but I wasn't an outstanding student per se. You know, it is a skill that I developed at UNAM that I was able to take over. So UNAM was good. I am here. I was only able to get into my master's because I went to UNAM, because the program looks for people from different African countries who did their undergrad there. So please check that out. It's a Center for Human Rights, the LLM program. They have different programs. They have certificates you can take, and it's a fully funded program, and it's one of the best on the continent. So that's really what propelled the rest of my career.
Well, just in case any of our listeners want to apply, where do they get those details? When does the application come out? How long is it?
I believe the application comes on around March every year and ends around July, or maybe April to July. And if you just Google Center for Human Rights, LLM in Human Rights and Democratization, they have other programs. They have programs in sexual minority. They have programs in international public law. So there are different programs that they have. So that's something really that I encourage people to who are interested in human rights.
So what you're telling me is I still stand a chance to submit my application.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe my journey to academic excellence, it still has a chance. Absolutely love it. Now let's talk about this. Would you only be able to pursue this if you have studied law, or can it come from for as long as you have done an honors or a degree?
I believe that they take law students and political science students. So yeah, they need you to have a little bit of a background in that. But they've made a few exceptions, but I think generally that's kind of what they go for.
Okay, guys, I could be the exception. You too could be the exception that they need to accept you into that university. Yeah. Now let's talk about the University of Pretoria and now Oxford. How's life there? Is it the glitz and glamour that I think it looks like? Are there any challenges? Are there any maybe far-fetched realities of what you ordered versus what you got? Or how is it?
This is at Oxford, right?
Well, you start off with the University of Pretoria, and then you get
Pretoria for me was really good. Again, so Pretoria, I applied, got into the second round, didn't get in eventually. I didn't get through the second round.
Okay.
And then I woke up one day, I started working on a research proposal for a couple of days. And I'd sent my research I Googled who the selection committee is. And then I sent all my research proposal. I had no reply. I was like, now they think I'm dumb and desperate.
What? I don't know. Weren't you desperate?
I was desperate, but you don't want to look desperate, you know. And then a week later, they called me that someone was not able to come and that they that they're going to, and I got accepted, you know. So Pretoria already, when I arrived, had a little bit of an imposter syndrome. Because I'm like, oh, I didn't get in, you know, as part of the backup. But when I got there, it was amazing. They have the best law faculty. The structure, like I said, is really, really meant for you to learn about everything about what's happening around the country. The only problem was during COVID. So I went during 2020, so it was a lockdown.
But you're in SA.
It was in SA. It was a lockdown.
Were you still going to classes?
We were having virtual classes. So by April, we had moved to virtual classes.
Look, at least you're having virtual classes in SA. I just went to the University of Namibia 2 weeks in. Virtual classes. I barely have a UNAM
experience at all. Oh no!
At least a virtual class in South Africa. At least not in Namibia. I'm far from home and have some sort of experience. So I COVID. Look, you know when they said Okahanja was in lockdown, the first thing that came to mind was, "Hey, COVID is back." Like it was just one of those situations. I think COVID has really given us that trouble.
Overall, Pretoria was very rigorous. We had class every day, 8 to 5. There were group assignments. It was a lot every single day. By the time there was exams, I was exhausted. But it was a very, very, very enriching experience that kind of showed me a different level of quality of education, of like having tutors, having 2 different supervisors, having a very small class so you're given attention. So Pretoria for me was life-changing in terms of the way I thought about how education was. Oxford.
Different continent.
Oxford. I need people to realize there that my goal was always to go to South Africa. Right? I applied. I got after my master's. I'm like, yes, I'm going to come back, work at the court, maybe clerk. There's absolutely no idea of no conceptualization of a PhD at that point early in my life, much less at Oxford, right? But at Pretoria, they were offering scholarships for PhD. I applied for that just to keep my options open. I didn't get it. And then the guy who got it was like, I guess I'm not going to submit my application to Oxford. I said, you're applying to Oxford. That's when my brain went,
there's Oxford?
Oxford? Wait, what? We can do that? That's an option for us? And then I was like, application was quite easy. 2 recommendation letters, writing sample. And then I got in. And now I feel like, now I have to go, you know? So eventually when I arrived, I'll speak about the funding a bit later. Eventually when I arrived, it was a bit of a culture shock. But I watched a lot of television growing up.
Okay.
You know? So I was able to navigate, you know, I knew what to say, where to be. I think it's an amazing experience. The kind of people I've met there are life-changing. But I'll speak a little bit more about Oxford as we get into the interview.
I think I'm more curious because South Africa is just here, man. We're like, you're like,
we're even using the rand.
Like we're using the rand. It's not deep at Oxford. That's like, 10-hour flight or more. So it's definitely one of those things that you want to stay tuned to and just wait. Oxford, University of Namibia, University of Pretoria. No, I think there's something missing in this puzzle. Give us your background. Because now when you're talking about this Oxford, I'm like, are you even Namibian?
I am Namibian.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Khomasdal. I still live there. I took a taxi from Khomasdal to come here.
That's the part of the puzzle that is missing because I'm like, University of Pretoria, like, as an ordinary Namibian child who just lives in the streets of Vanahede, were the ones that just here.
I'm in love with a girl from Vanahede.
It's definitely one of those. Like what was missing from the puzzle because we need to have.
I think what's missing in the puzzle is I had an older brother. I have an older brother who, in 1990, was in grade 1. You know, when we had independence.
1990, I was at home. I was in the way.
He was grade 1. So he was part of the first kind of black kids to go to white schools. Emma Delta. So by the time he went 16, he left. And he has a master's from Columbia University as well. So I had someone that I could look up to be like, oh, wow, this is possible. That kind of opened up my world. I think maybe that's a missing part that you are.
If I'm just an ordinary young black Namibian child who's listening to these podcasts, I kind of need to have that picture of, are you coming from where I'm coming from? Like, do you breathe the same air as I breathe, you know? Have you gotten into the taxi and you played soccer in the street?
Like, eat the same fat cook.
You know? I think that was what was also just missing. Now, your journey to Oxford, and I think I'm quite fortunate to have had a conversation with him prior in terms of where he's currently at in pursuing his PhD. You don't have a scholarship, but you have the only funding model I've seen when it comes to now asking for scholarship and funding for university, because I think I've gotten used to the traditional way of asking for funding and scholarships for us as now students or potential students. Because when I think about pursuing my master's, now I'm like, NASFA, what scholarships are available? But for yourself, you have this funding model that you've developed in terms of, you give me your money, this is what you get back in return. Tell us more about, how did you come up with this? Is it something that you saw, or you just thought about it?
So I eventually got a scholarship for Oxford, but let's get back there. Let's back to that. From the beginning. The beginning. So the funding model, firstly, wasn't systematic. It started with taking chances. Okay. I'm telling you guys, my number one advice is take chances. I'll give you an example. This is not just particularly with funding, but with the internship I was speaking about earlier at MOJ. So I had a friend, we were both looking for work, and then she got the internship. I didn't even apply. And I told her, she said she's starting Monday. I told her, I'm just going to show up Monday.
With it?
Yeah. She said, what? You didn't even apply? I said, just, you don't worry about me. I won't say you know me. And I went to go sit in the office in the reception, and then the secretary walks in and she looks at me.
Like, who are you?
She's like, who are you? What are you doing here? Then they send me home. I'm like, that's so dumb and desperate. Dumb and desperate.
Look who's saying dumb and desperate is the man that showed up in a suit.
4 hours later, they're like, the fifth intern never showed up. Come back.
Guess who's dressed in a suit waiting for the call?
Ready for the call. The trim was already set. And I got back. So really take chances. So coming back to the funding, with Oxford, they are like, there are so many scholarships. You don't have to apply for them. If you are eligible, they'll give you. So I was waiting around. Eventually, I had to hand in my financial declaration. I didn't have funding. I tweeted. I was like, I got into Oxford. I started a GoFundMe. And then a couple of people called me, now including one economy foundation, and said, we have other students who got into Ivy League schools in the last 2 years, but they're not been able to go because of funding. We can't let this keep happening. And we kind of worked together to try and secure me funding. And I would have never had that opportunity if I had not just tweeted and if I had not been vulnerable.
Is it the same Twitter, like the black app I have?
The same one, the x.com. Yeah.
Maybe I'm not using it correctly.
So my point with this is to say the funding models was firstly not accidental, but it changed time to time. In the beginning, it was really just looking for someone that will believe in me, right? And after that, it was selling myself, right? So the proposal continuously developed. So right now I'm trying to fund my final year. I've raised a little bit of money. I'm still looking for more. But the proposal I'm currently using is something that I've developed over 6 months. It's something that first in December, I only had kind of, this is what I've achieved. This is why you should contribute. I didn't have the returns. This is what you're getting back. And then when I came back, I'm like, wait, who is my audience? Who am I trying to get money from? And I said, law firms. I said, what do law firms value? They don't have time. They need researchers. They need consultants. They are understaffed. So maybe I can offer my expertise of consultation or research or my network to them, right? So it's really about from year to year, my funding proposals have changed and it has adjusted to either how much money I need, to who I am approaching. So all of these things are considered as a whole.
You know what was fascinating when I looked at the proposal? Is the fact that 120 hours of consultation gives you how much of money that you can get. I'm like, who do you think you are? I love your confidence. I looked at it and I was like, wow, I never thought about using that as a model, because a lot of us have expertise, but we always just like, please fund me. I need to do my master's. I need to do my PhD. And never a situation of, what can I do? What can I offer you in return? Now, once you've developed, you say that it evolved continuously. Now, let's say on your first 6 months after you've developed it, how did you approach the law firms? What were their responses like?
So initially, let's say I did this in December. In January, when I was still overseas, I sent this to a couple of organizations, no response whatsoever. And then I thought, man, what can I do to make it better? And then I added timelines, right? Still no response. And then I came back.
You're still abroad?
I'm still abroad. And then I came to Namibia. I'm like, I really have to maximize my time here, right? I can't be sending emails to random emails that you get online. And that's when I decided the return. And I decided, let me choose an audience. Because this thing of just MTC, Standard Bank, Bank Venture, and just sending random emails, you have to choose people who would be incentivized. So the initial proposals were not, responses were non-existent, right? And then the 2 responses I had were I had meetings and they'd offered me some money in exchange of course, either working for them afterwards or not afterwards, during consultations or whatsoever. So initially it took a lot of rejection to eventually get even just 2 proposals.
Let's talk about the time when you're getting rejections. How did that feel? Was there ever a point you're like, hey, maybe I must just go back home,
That was never an option. Going home is never an option. The rejection is, honestly, I'm used to rejection now. It's something that comes with the territory. It's something that it forces you to, because if I had gotten money, maybe let's say if I had gotten a third of what I was looking for by December, I would have relaxed. But the fact that I got rejection forced me, right, to make my proposal better, right, to think about who is particularly the groups of people who firstly have money but would be willing to have money and willing to give me time for it. So the rejection is what improved my proposals generally.
Who are you? What do you mean?
No, guys, rejection is great. Rejection is, I've just told you my MOG internship I didn't get, my master's I didn't get into. Rejection is what pushed me to end up where I am.
Can I call you like randomly for motivational talks? Because some days are better than others. Like, I don't think I can do it anymore, But I'm glad that going back home was never an option. So at least you are busy carrying our flag at an international level. Somebody gonna do it. You're taking one for the team. Don't worry. For our listeners, you're gonna join the team very soon.
No, it's a relay. When I'm done, I'm passing the torch.
Definitely. Now, we also have young people here who are thinking of pursuing their studies, but finances is also a challenge. Now, how can young people think of creating financing models for their academic journeys? Like, what advice would you give to someone who's out there that has had rejections and they're just like, no, NASFAF is not taking me, the scholarship is not taking me. What can they do for themselves?
I would start off by saying you must see yourself as a resource. You are a renewable resource. So what that takes is you must know what is your current value as you're sitting there. But you must also know what's your potential, right? And that is what you are selling. You're saying this first and foremost, this is what I have to offer now. This is what I've done. This is what I believe in. These are my passions. This is what I have done in the past. And then you have the potential. This is what I could be. This is where you really are selling your dreams, right? And the third part of that is that these things change over time, right? Your value and your potential, right? Sometimes you fulfill your potential. Maybe you did an internship, right? Now your value increases. So you must learn to constantly check your bank balance, your value, your bank balance of value, and there are things you might have forgotten that you think are not important, right? List down, maybe spend a day or two writing everything you've done since you were 7, right? And determine what your value is and see how you can sell yourself, but also know what is possible. And I think that's the first advice I would give. The second one that I've already mentioned is, who are you marketing yourself to? So if you are a law student at UNAM and you need someone to fund your final year, right? Let's say NASFAF didn't work out. Obviously, you'd approach law firms. But then what is your age? You can also approach youth, youth organizations. What type of law do you want to work in? So if you want to work in, for example, international property, maybe you can approach BIPA particularly. So you have to be very specific about who your audience is and tailor your proposals to that. And the third advice I would say is really come through for your future self. Hey, I do that a lot.
I mean, you are
no, I really do that a lot because like a year ago, you are maybe sad and you are depressed and you don't have your money and you are wondering, what can I do in this next 3 months to make sure I don't feel that way? right? And I know that's a very abstract advice, but my point there is really there are small things you can do in between these moments that will put your future self in a better position. And that comes back against what is your potential. So if you are a lawyer, then go make sure you are the president of the UNAM team or in the executive at the debating society, right? So feel your potential, even if it's incrementally, so that when you look back in 6 months, maybe you don't have the money yet, but now you have a better case that for someone to give you money.
I love how you say better case.
Yeah.
When you spoke about your bank balance there, I almost got thinking for a minute. Like,
your value, the value of the person.
You know what? Maybe my bank balance is not aligning with what I want. But my value, bank balance, that I can build up. Yeah. You don't need anybody. You just need yourself. And you know,
because you are a resource.
Yes, I think that's the one thing we can be able to take out from this conversation. The model, yes, but treat yourself as a resource, and that's one way to go about it. Now, if you have any of our listeners that are maybe stressed because they don't have the financial capacity to be able to pursue their studies, and I like how you said resource really, but what advice would you have to those that are discouraged due to financial challenges?
The truth of the matter is it's very discouraging to not have money. The issue is not to be discouraging. Being discouraged is fine, but you can't give up. You can be discouraged in phases. You're like, this week, I'm sending 7 people. None of them replied. To be discouraged for a week. But after that, the show must go on. And usually how you do that is you have to take initiative and consistent initiative. I would almost go as far as you have to harass these people a bit that have money. Show up to people's offices. You know, if the secretary says they can't, they are busy, sit in the reception and wait for them to go to lunch and approach them and say,
can I
hi, sir. Please, even if you don't have time, you have a document in hand that you can hand them. You know, so you have to take initiatives. You can be discouraged, but
not for too long.
Not for too long, and not at your own detriment, right? And like I said, the reason I'm saying it's okay to be discouraged is because it's a reality, but also the discouragement and the rejection and those things make sure you get up stronger. And and raising funds is not only about asking money; it's about making your own money, right? And so there are different ways to do that. We can get into that a little bit as well. But the idea is feel discouraged, but not too long. And when you come back stronger.
Come back stronger. Don't be discouraged for too long because the show gotta go on. I think that's the one thing I don't like about adulting in life. Because the show always has to go on. Like, can I breathe?
A little bit.
But people are just walking in the streets like life is normal. Like, bro, I'm going through a lot. And from South Africa, from Namibia, I don't even know why I want to give you away to South Africa because you're quite a resource in this country. But from Namibia to South Africa, then the UK, that's quite a leap of faith. Or maybe just a leap because now faith is subjective. What advice would you give to somebody who's thinking of pursuing international studies?
Firstly, you have to make use of social media. Yeah? You have to have a LinkedIn account. A lot of the internships I've done, I've just been scrolling and I saw this and I got it. Right, so LinkedIn is a very, very useful resource. The same way on Instagram every day, you must be on LinkedIn every day. The same way on Facebook, be on LinkedIn. It's just scrolling. It's about chance, right? Because even me, I'm not on LinkedIn that often, but those few times that I went, I've seen a conference that I want to attend. I've seen funding opportunities that I may have been eligible for. Another one is the Namibian opportunities, on Facebook and WhatsApp. You must be on those things religiously, right? Right place, right time. Firstly, that's the first advice. Secondly, it takes time, right? If you have goals for 2027, you might have to start in 2025, right? If you want to do, let's say, maybe a undergrad in law, but your marks are not that great, do a certificate at the Center for Human Rights, for example. They have certificates in different stuff. Women's rights, sexual minorities, all of these things. Or go volunteer at some organization that's somewhat affiliated to what you want to do. You have to be intentional about the goals. So if you want to do a degree in international criminal law, right, and you probably want to go maybe to the Netherlands, because that's usually where a place. 2 years before that, you must have already know exactly what program you want in, what is the eligibility criteria, and how can you boost. So you can't just be waking up, oh, I want to study this year. You wake up and then a month later you are discouraged because you didn't get into the program, but you haven't spent at least a year, right, being intentional about what you want to do.
Yes.
And then I think South Africa is a good starting point generally for quality education globally, right? UNAM is great, particularly the law program. But if you really want to study overseas, I would say to look towards either building kind of certificates and doing extracurricular work, but also trying to aim for South Africa, because that I think there are a lot of opportunities there as well. So those are the few kind of advice I would give for people who want to study overseas.
Amazing. Now, you've mentioned something about criteria and what program you want to know. And maybe this just takes us a bit back, because some of our listeners are young people that are still in high school that would want to pursue law and would want to also do the masters, who want to do their PhD. What are the eligibility criteria for somebody to be able to study law? Like, what were you into? Like, apart from debate, what field of study did you do? What were the requirements for UNAM? Just so that they also have an idea for them to start preparing, because you've mentioned that preparation is key.
I would say critical thinking is very important. And that is something that takes time and they have to be intentional about to develop. Like I mentioned, debating is an important part of that. Reading, challenging your friends' views in the conversation at the bar. You know, sometimes you might just play at devil's advocate and be like, you know, what is your point when you're talking about critical issues, right? Engage people. And that is something that takes time and effort. I think that's generally for if you are going to pursue postgraduate studies, is to develop a culture of critical thinking, right? Even when I was at UNAM, maybe a lecturer will say something, and I'm like, no, man, is that you pick up your hand and you tell the lecturer, right? No, I don't think this is particularly right or whatever. So you must challenge yourself, even your own views once in a while. You must think, man, what is the best argument against my view? Think about the best argument against your view and challenge yourself and try and come up with it. So you must develop critical thinking. And if you're going to do law moot courts, there are a lot of moot courts around Africa. The Nelson Mandela moot court, where you are able to kind of do mock law.
I was about to ask you, what's a moot court?
Moot court is like mock courts, right? I think UNAM recently started with that as well. I might be wrong. So those opportunities that allow you to travel, right? And you go see the University of Cape Town, and you're like, wow, I actually want to come here. It's not just abstract. So the advice I would give, the skills that are needed is critical thinking as overall. Really, is really it. You can go in, if you have critical thinking, you're able to think objectively about things outside of your own personal opinions. That will take you far, even in your interviews, in your applications, and so on.
Oh, critical thinking.
Critical
How
thinking.
often do you build up the knowledge and information that you have? How often do you read? How often do you engage in conversations with your peers? How often do you just sit there and listen to conversations so you are informed? And what do you know about current affairs? Those are some of the things that you need to be able to do as a young person who would like to pursue their studies further, or who would just want to be in the present. Because that's one thing for you not to want to pursue your studies today, but hey, you wake up the next day and you realize, maybe I actually need to go back to school, or maybe I actually want to go into this position, because people are always going to be looking for those that can critically think. Now, let's talk about you being able to balance academic excellence, leadership, and service all in one. Like, how did you do this? And what do you think is important to people to actually volunteer and participate in extramural activities while they pursue their studies?
Well, that's very important. Firstly, it's actually, outside of trying to get a job and a scholarship, it's a issue of character. Right? Because the things you do outside of your profession of what pays your money, what pays you, is really a show of character, right? And what I mean by that is when people are looking for someone, you are at, let's say if you got called to an interview, everyone who got called to the interview is eligible on paper, right? True. You are, what is it more that you bring? Of course, it's the way you think about whatever job you're being assigned to, but it's also an issue of, are you a team worker, right? Yes, you write on your CV, great team worker, but what is it there, what team have you worked in, right? How have you volunteered? If there is an issue at work and they need you to work 2-3 hours, if you are volunteering your time for free, of course, you become a candidate for someone that they can trust over hours, right? So civic work and volunteering is a very character thing. For me, it's very soul-fulfilling as well. It's something that really builds my community. And also, people who are usually doing civic work are multidimensional.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is, so yeah, right now I'm just a lawyer here or a law student, you know, but when you do things outside of just your profession, you are more than that. You might even gain skills that are good for that advance your profession. So civic work is very, very, very important, not only as an issue of increasing your CV, but an issue as character, I think, generally.
Tell us, how did you balance all this? How are you still at the top of the game for both?
I mean, so it's really also about opportunity. So at Oxford, I'm also the director of development for the Black Oxford alumni. I was a social secretary at my college. I was the rep for blacks and minorities at my college as well. Yeah, minority rep, so you are sitting in meetings, you are able to make decisions. So for me, there are two reasons. Like you said, firstly, like I said, it's a character thing I actually just enjoy. Like, for example, Black excellence, so that's why I took up the job. The rights of minors are important. Social secretaries, right? Because when I came to Oxford, I came a month late. So it took me about 2 or 3 months really to settle in. I had like one friend for 3 months. So I picked up the social secretary position because I didn't want anyone else to be in that position where they came late and they're not able to be integrated easily, right? Because if you're a social secretary, you make sure there are social events, the people are, right? So, so those positions for me are things that I took on because I wanted to, and therefore it made it easier. The balancing part, there were some times where I did it some years better than others. The balancing doesn't always balance. But when you do something that you want to do, it's easier to do it, if that makes sense.
Definitely, I think the one thing that we can all say that in life is it never balances. And it's a good thing because you learn when it doesn't balance. And at some moments you're like, hey, it's not balancing, but I think I'm okay. Mentally, physically, financially, it's not balancing, but we are getting deep.
Yeah, and also take initiative, right? Like these are opportunities that I've taken up because they were there. But a lot of people have started organizations that are very small that hire 3 or 4 people with a clear mandate as well, right? So civic work is not just about going to volunteer or whatever, but it's really about building your community and being an important person in that building, even if it means you have to start those organizations yourself.
Indeed. Now, Kelvin, at the Beautiful Youth Campus, we work with young people who also aspire to become leaders in various fields. Now, what practical steps do you believe that young people need to take today in order for them to prepare themselves for a global career or them just being a leader at various institutions?
Yeah, the first step is you have to be sure about what you want and what you want to be. There's already uncertainty about where we're going to get our money from. There's already uncertainty about where we're going to get into these things that we're applying for, whether we're going to get these jobs. On the very least, you must be sure that that's what you want, right? Be at least, okay, I want to go into this program in this year and I want to do well, right? Like, I understand, even me now, people ask me, what are you going to do after Oxford? I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure.
Job.
I have a few options, whatever, but I'm already in a disadvantage because I'm not sure. In the next month, I'm trying to be sure. So the first thing, but when I wanted to be a lawyer, I was sure that I wanted to study law. I was sure that I wanted to be in human rights. I was sure that I wanted to do constitutional law.
But what gave you that assurance? If you have a young person who's uncertain about what they want to do, because maybe
research. So for example, if you want to become a lawyer and you ask people what type of lawyer, they think there are 2 options. They think you can either work for the government or you can go corporate.
And those are only options.
Right? Even in government, you can be a government attorney. You can be a prosecutor. You can advise the attorney. Even in that one option, there are 7 things you can do. In the corporate, like commercial law, is it AI, right? There's a gap in AI. We don't have lawyers who are studying, maybe that's like at the master's level, right? But if you're undergrad, you could write a thesis about AI. You can start reading about AI. If you're a lawyer, like I said, IP, you're in private, there are so many different options. Because law is probably the most cross-cutting field, right? Because everything needs to be regulated, right? So sure, you want to be a lawyer, but what sort of lawyer do you want to be, right? So the first step is like really do the research, watch seminars on YouTube, attend a talk and whatever. And the more you do this, you're like, man, the more I read about this, the more sure I am that this is what I want to be. So the first step is be sure, right? Let everything else be uncertain, but on the very least, be sure about what it is that you want to do. The second one, this is a tough one. You have to shed shame. You have to shed shame about your circumstances. Yeah, it is. Even when I had to open that GoFundMe, I just wanted to creep into a hole because now everyone knows that I need money
and I can't afford
right, and I can't afford to do it. I was like, no, I hate this, but I had to do it. I had to shed the shame, and I had to be okay with my situation, at least accepting it, so that then I don't have shame and I'm unapologetic about my journey. Right? So shed the shame. Let them know you are brilliant, but that you also need money. Right. So if you are sure, and then shed the shame, because that allows you to enter spaces that you normally maybe would have not. And the third one is kind of a broad one, is to really to make your self stand out. And that goes back to everything we've spoken about. Right. Once you get to the interview, once you get a call back, everyone has the same qualifications on paper. What is it that makes you more, right? Do you have more civic education? Are you articulate, right? Because you did 10 years of debating. Are you articulate because you did 10 years of debating? Are you well read about a particular issue that might come up? What is it between you and 100 people? And that is a very hard to figure out. And it's also not just figuring it out. It's doing. Once you do, 2 years later, you realize, whoa, these 3-4 things that I've done in these 2 years actually exemplify my CV, right? So you have to find ways. I know we are obsessed as kids of fitting in, but here you really have to find a way to stand out. So I think those are kind of the 3 practical steps that I would advise.
Amazing. I think the shame part.
That one.
A lot of us struggle with it.
It's rough. I still struggle with it. But
before I can actually move into my most favorite part of the podcast, Kelvin, I think I was talking more about your funding model and structure because I've seen what the proposal look like. But for listeners that haven't seen us, can you please walk us through the structure of this model?
So this model has about 4 or 5 parts to it. The first part says, so the proposal is called Crossing the Finish Line. Right, so you're already branding yourself. I'm like, no, we have already made the money. I just need this crossing that you're already limiting. It's called crossing the line, you know. And then the first thing I say is the University of Oxford is ranked the best university in the world, right? Just to already place, because now I'm like, I have to use the Oxford name. Yeah, to raise it because that's the first. They won't even open it, if they don't see the word Oxford. But then the first part is a snapshot of 3 years of at Oxford. So I have different things that I've done. I've done publications. I've done internships. I've been solitary. I've gotten an award for the most significant contribution to non-academic life of college. I've done courses. I've had fellowships. So you first start with. So you must imagine you're giving this to an executive who only has 2 minutes. And then if they're interested, they'll give you another 2 minutes. Right? So the first page is everything you wanted to know. Use Canva, use images, make it really appeal. Right? And then the second thing is, this is how much my school costs. This is how much I've raised. And this is how much I need. In red, how much you need is in red. So they already know, okay, this is this person, this is what they've done, and this is how much they need. And the second page is called Support and Returns. Where this is how you can support me, and this is how your returns look like, right? So for example, maybe if you give me 50 hours, if you give me 50,000, I'll give you 50 hours of research and consultation. So there you have to think about what is it that you're willing to offer, right? And what is it that you can be capable of. Maybe the returns, if you are very early in your career, maybe your return can be abstract. You can say, I'm giving back to the Namibian economy by getting this, because in this gap, in this field, this is an emerging field in the country, and by helping, you could also get that abstract, and the more you have to offer, the more your returns become. And then the last is timelines. If you give someone a proposal, when do you want the money? So the timeline is, I'm like, I have a timeline for when I can meet donors. I have 2 objectives because it's quite a bit of money that I'm raising. So I'm like, by this time, I want this to raise this. By this time, I want to raise this. But thirdly, and also you have to be transparent. So, for example, I've applied for 1 or 2 other scholarships. So I'm telling the people I'm applying for 1 or 2, but in case this doesn't come out, I'm encouraging Namibians. So being very transparent. And then the last is I have about a 2-page letter so of why you must fund, right? And here I say I'm a product of UNAM. I talk about the fact that I come from a middle-class family and that my parents have very little pension. So usually we tend to start with the struggles, right? The struggles are good to color it in and make you whole. But you must first sell yourself, and then at the end, maybe when you're having a meeting with a potential donor or towards the end of the proposal, you tell your story, right? And then what are your previous donors? Like, how have you so far raised money? Because that shows that you are not just sitting around asking for money, right? I'm like, oh, UNAM, I had NASFAF. Pretoria, I had a scholarship. Oxford, I had a 3-year scholarship, but after that, I had to apply to different funds within Oxford. I did a research job. This is also how I am working so people need to see that you have already done something. And then, yes, basically, and then that's basically the model of how I've done it. It's only 4 or 5 pages. And within the first page, you can see the most. The second page, you see your return. And the 3 or 4 pages, you really fill in, you color your story with who you are, how you've made it this far, and why that's sort of, why it is that you urgently need support.
I have one question for you, Kelvin.
Of course.
Wait, I'm lying. It's not a while. I've hit 20,000 questions for you today. Now, how do you meet those hours that you promised to them?
I'll figure that out when they give me the money. I have to make time. No, I have to make time. It's like now when if someone is like, hey, I have a publication that I want you to be part of. I'm in my final year, but I have to make time for it.
Love it.
I have to make time for it. It's all about prioritization. Maybe I'm going out less Saturdays. Maybe I am
sleeping less,
whatever it may be. You have to make the time for those hours.
I know you've raised some funds already. How are the sleepless nights?
They're about to start in May.
Okay.
But they'll be worth it.
That's a good thing. You can't sleep more if you have more problems. Problems going to wake you up like how
True.
Okay, now we finally moved into my most favorite part of this show because this was about 2 years and uptight and, getting me out of my comfort zone. I'm going to start off with the questions. You are a law scholar because you're more into this fraternity. What's that one book that every lawyer should read, or you believe that anyone interested in law should read?
This is definitely subjective. But one of the first books I read was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And that book is about a lawyer who is very successful, but is very unfulfilled with life. And then he sells his Ferrari. And the whole book is literally telling you about not to be materialistic. So basically the lesson for me there is you can't want to become a lawyer because you think it's going to make you money, right?
Is it not?
In human rights, I am not so sure. Maybe if you're a corporate, sell your soul to the big guys. You can't chase the success defined by wealth, right? Even the successful lawyer ended up selling everything he has and went on a spiritual journey and came back, right? So that book really taught me to make sure that what I'm pursuing is in the name of happiness, and not necessarily for status or wealth. It's a very interesting book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kelvin, if you could describe Oxford into 3 words, what would those be?
Exhilarating.
Okay.
Exhilarating is the first one because I feel so alive when I'm there, right? Because there's just so much happening all the time. Every day you are overbooked. You have to go to this seminar. You have to go to that lecture. You have to go to this movie premiere. You have to go to this dinner. It's very exhilarating. There's no time to be like... Yeah, it's very fast, exhilarating, which is very exciting. It keeps you up. The second word is very unique because the way it's set up, you get accepted to a department and then you get accepted to a college, A college is now where you have a dining hall, there's a bar, there's the welfare, there is graduate room. So the way that the university is set up, because it's so old and there's so many old traditions, it's a bit weird sometimes, you know, especially when you have to like pray in Latin before you
Can you
eat. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. No, me. No. You just have to.
You just made me excited.
No, Latin. It's a dead language. It's a very unique place.
Okay.
And then the third one is a roller coaster. Because it's a journey. There are ups and there are downs, and there are ups and there are downs. That's because of the academic journey. That's because obviously I'm overseas, so it can get quite lonely. You're away from your family, from your Namibian friends and whatsoever. So it's a roller coaster, but the highs are really high, I would say. Cool. Yeah.
Your third question is, what's the biggest myth you've heard about law school?
The biggest myth about law school? That they teach you to be a lawyer.
Don't they?
No, they teach you what the law is.
How must I be the lawyer?
They teach you what the law is, what you learn to be a lawyer after law school, right? So it's like you learn to be a researcher. They'll be like, oh, we give you assignments, right? So they will like, you look at the Constitution, you can look at law. So it'll teach you where to find the law and what the sources of the law are and what the law is. But it doesn't teach you how to be a lawyer, which is fundamentally different. Yeah.
I thought that was part of school, guys.
No.
Okay, cool. Kelvin?
Yeah.
What's your dream international organization that you'd like to work for?
Yeah, disclaimer, I don't have a dream organization, to be honest. But if I had to choose one, like I study constitution making and building and amendments, right? How do you make constitutions? How do you amend them? How should you, particularly in Africa? And there's an organization, which I've already interned at, International Institute of Democracy and Electoral Assistance. And they have a wing called Constitution Building. So if there's someone making a constitution around the world, they are usually the first call for technical teams. They are like a research, because I'm really into I like research about constitutions, how they survive and how they fail, right? So I did a fellowship recently in The Hague, 3 months there. But it's only one department and there are like 7 or 8 people who work there. So the chances for the future is slim, but that's kind of one of the organizations that I see myself.
Can I give you a call when you get there?
Yes. Just ask for Kelvin.
Like, hi, may I please speak to Kelvin? But Kelvin, it's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to have you with us. I know you're here for quite a short period of time in Namibia, but you still made time to be here on Career Quest to share your journey with us and that amazing funding model that you have. I think, guys, I'm really curious. And I told you guys that I might be going back to school at the beginning of the episode. I'm a bit now certain. I now have ways how to make the money because I don't have the money to fund myself. But I think it's one of those situations. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for sharing your light and being here. I'm so honored because you could be busy with research, but you chose to be here with us. That's proof that hard work pays off. Let's prove that prioritizing what matters to you is important.
Taking chances.
Having a vision.
Yes.
And, thinking about service to others compared to it being more money-based. And thank you for carrying the Namibian flag on a global stage. I think that's one thing. I know how it feels like, carrying an entire country on your shoulders. I think it's one of the... how do I describe it? It feels amazing, but it comes with a lot of responsibility. So you're like, am I doing it right? Like, it's one of those, it's nerve-wracking and a roller coaster. Maybe I should borrow that from you. But it's definitely one of those. All our listeners, please do not forget to follow Career Quest or check us out on our various social media platforms as Free Namibia on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or X, popularly known as Twitter, and you can be able to listen that is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or our website, or wherever you find your podcast. So if you've enjoyed this episode, maybe you want to develop a funding model, or maybe want to pursue law, or maybe know of a friend who's a child, or a friend of a friend who would like to pursue law, please send this episode to them because these may be the little career inspiration they may need. And until next time, please do keep dreaming, keep building, and stay curious.